to Hillsboro Pioneer Cemetery. My name is Mary Catherine Emerick Wehrung, and my dear husband Henry and I are well-respected business owners here in town. We can get you anything you might need. What's that? How did I get to Oregon? What a great question. Thank you for asking. I was born in 1838 in Illinois, and when I was 10 years old, my family moved to Oregon. My parents are Catherine and Christian Emerick. My older brother Solomon had moved to Oregon 5 years earlier, but he returned to Illinois to help guide the rest of our family to Oregon. Sadly, our beautiful mother died from the ague fever on Bear River in Wyoming, leaving us all devastated. Pa promised her that he would get us all to Oregon, and he kept that oath. We had moved to the Tualatin Plains near my brother Solomon and his wife Lucetta. They had claimed 640 acres under the Donation Land Claim Act. Lucetta was able to claim half that amount in her own name, being a married woman. Sadly, Pa passed away just a year later. My brother Christopher and I would split the claim, but we would not inherit until we were 18. As I was still a young girl of 13 at the time, I went to live with Dr. William Geiger, whose claim was just west of ours. I was able to attend the Tualatin Academy, walking to and from school every day. In 1856, I married Henry Wehrung. He had been traveling west to California to look for gold, but instead he went to Oregon. Along the trail, Henry had noticed many travelers abandoning their heavy furniture and goods. So when Henry got to Oregon, he got right to work. He got a claim, cleared the land, built a carpentry shop, and he won the first bid to build the first courthouse in Hillsboro. By the time we were married, Henry had built the Hillsboro Hotel. I would run the hotel, and Henry would work in his carpentry shop. I had to plant a lotus tree out front, as I needed something green to block the view of the tavern across the street. Henry and I would have 4 children. 2 daughters, Charlotte and Mary Catherine, and 2 sons, George and William. Our children attended the Tualatin Academy when they became of age, but we also expected them to help out in the hotel and in the farm. My 2 daughters turned out to be lovely ladies. Charlotte married a carpenter by the name of George Patterson, and Mary Catherine married the owner of a meat market named David Corwin. Our sons George and William learned the trade of their father in carpentry and spent a great deal of time hunting and fishing in the countryside. After a while, our carpentry shop became too busy. So in 1882, we decided to open the H. Wehrung and Sons Mercantile, selling everything from tools, household supplies, and farming goods. We put advertisements in the paper quite often, every time we received new shipments. After a while, William became more interested in politics and banking. He became an Oregon senator and served on the State Board of Agriculture. George lost his beautiful wife Nellie when he was just 30 years old. He never recovered from his broken heart. So he lived with his father and I, helping out at the hotel and in the carpentry shop. He eventually took over when his father and I retired. Oh, well, that's enough about me. There are others you must see. Oh, but please do holler if you need anything. Yes, now go on now. Shoo! Shoo!
His wifey dear, now that all is peaceful and calm, the boys will soon be back mistaken, said his wifey dear. Once a farmer, always a trade, and farmers always stick to the hay. Mother Reuben, I'm not faking, though you may think it's strange when wine and women play the mischief with a boy who's loose with change. How you gonna keep 'em down on the farm after they've seen Perry? How you gonna keep 'em away from Broadway, jazzing around and painting the town? How you gonna keep 'em away from home? That's the mystery. Imagine Reuben when he meets his pa. You kiss his cheek and holler, ooh la la. How you gonna keep 'em down on the farm after they've seen Perry?
Hello there, I'm Fred Sewell. I hear you're looking for ghosts. Well, you've succeeded. I feel I've come so full circle here. You see, I was the undertaker in here in Hillsboro. It's not a pretty job, and I didn't start out that way. You see, I was born in 1882. And my grandfather, Henry, he came out here in 1842 on a wagon train. He was a proper English gentleman and a Baptist minister. He came out with another Baptist minister named David Lennox, and the two of them founded the West Union Baptist Church. And from what I hear, it's still standing. My grandfather bought 526 acres, and we had a ranch and a proper cattle farm. We had horses, grass seed, and we even grew hops. The hops were kind of interesting. We'd put an ad in the paper, and families from all over would bring all their belongings and set up camp along the edges of the field. They'd even have little wood stoves to keep warm. And then when the men started picking the hops, they'd take their tall ladders and they'd pick from the tops down, while the wives and children would pick from the bottoms up. And at the end of the day, they weighed all their bushels and they got paid by the pound. My Uncle James saw a need in the valley for clay drainage pipes, so he started the Sewell Clay Works, which became the largest clay works in the state of Oregon. They were so large and successful, they had clients even nationwide. In 1909, I fell in love with Jessie Donaldson. Her dad was the local undertaker and even lived in a house next to the funeral parlor. She had the sweetest voice. She even played the piano, and she was quite popular in the social circles. We used to have parties at her house on Main Street that her dad helped us buy. She was very social and well respected. She even volunteered for the Women's Relief Corps. She was a wonderful wife and mother. We had two wonderful daughters, Evelyn and Marjorie. When we got married, I was working for the Commercial Bank of Hillsboro. I started out as a clerk, and within 10 years, I became a co-owner. I was well respected in the community. I was even the treasurer for the fire department and the Knights of Pythias. In 1921, Jessie's dad was getting up on years, and we decided to take over the funeral business. We lived in the house right next to the parlor. I ran the business with Jessie's brother, Earl. When Earl sold his business to James Deerick, I ran it with him. For 33 years, I took care of the dead and the burials. I am proud to lay here with my friends and family. May we all rest in peace.
I have a neighbor, one of those not very hard to find, who know it all without debate and never change their mind. I asked him what of woman's rights. He said in tone severe, my mind on that is all made up. Keep woman in her sphere. I saw a man in tattered garb forth from the grog shop come. He squandered all his cash for drink and starved his wife at home. But many days ago, who pondered deep all human law, the honest truth to know. I asked him what of a woman's cause. The answer came sincere. Her rights are just the same as mine. Let woman choose her sphere. Talk about the shade of the sheltering palms. Praise the bamboo tree and its wide-spreading charms. There's a little bush that grows right here in town. You know its name, it has one such renown. Often with my sweetheart just after the play, to this little place and my footsteps will stray. If she hesitates when she looks at the sign, softly I whisper, now Sue, don't decline. Come and make eyes with me under the Anheuser bush. Come, drink some Budweiser with me under the Anheuser bush. Hear the old German band. Just let me hold your hand, yeah. Do come and have a stein or two under the Anheuser bush. Rave about the place where you swells go to dine. Picture Sue and me with our sandwich and stein underneath the bush where the good fellows meet. Life seems worth living, our joy is complete. If you're sad at heart, take a trip there tonight. You'll forget your woe and your eyes will grow bright. There you'll surely find me with my sweetheart Sue. Come down this evening, I'll introduce you. Come and make eyes with me under the Anheuser bush. Come, drink some Budweiser with me under the Anheuser bush. Hear the old German band. Just let me hold your hand, yeah. Do come and have a stein or two under the Anheuser bush.
Excuse me, folks, a lingering cough. Good today to you. New in town, eh? Tim Buzhard at your service. I was born in Iowa in 1860, right at the start of the Civil War. That means I grew up in a changing nation, a nation that was trying to heal, to grow, and to create communities that offered new opportunities. As a young man, I learned the carpentry trade and worked on building projects in Des Moines, Iowa, until I was about 32. I watched with pride as that city grew into the capital it is today. And like a lot of young men, I eventually felt the need to get out of my own backyard, so I decided to save up and go west, like thousands of other folks had done before me, to find my own new opportunity. I found out Oregon was the place to be, so I came out by train right at the turn of the century. I'm so glad I did too. Otherwise, I would have never met my lovely wife, Minnie, or had our wonderful little daughter, Dorothy. When I first arrived, I bought a plot of land at the Stewart and Tucker edition of North Hillsboro, and that's where we settled. Hillsboro is surrounded by such beautiful countryside, and I wanted Minnie and Dorothy to have plenty of fresh air and a space for a garden. Now, carpentry is my main occupation, of course, but I'm also a volunteer firefighter for the town of Hillsboro. You folks know this already, but community means that everyone needs to do their part. So, if ever the alarm is raised, our men gather up and rush to the fire. We hook our water wagons up to the main lines and do our best to put out the flames. Most of the time we're successful, but unfortunately, sometimes we are not, no matter how hard we try. In January of 1912, the boys and I faced the worst I've seen yet. Commercial hotel fire. The alarm went up early in the morning and we got there as fast as we could, but we couldn't get enough water pressure to our hoses and the fire spread quickly. Such a sad day. You see, a small boy lost his life in that fire. His mother, Mrs. Thomas, as I recall, tried to run back in and save him, but was critically injured herself. Her husband, Mr. Thomas, had taken the train into Portland to work that day and left his wife and 2 children to spend the day at the hotel. Apparently, Mrs. Thomas started the fireplace and left her 2 boys alone for just a few moments. We don't know what started the fire. Probably some sparks onto the carpet or the drapes. Miraculously, the older of the 2 boys, who was only 5 years of age himself at the time, somehow escaped and raised the alarm. Mrs. Thomas tried to go in for her younger child, but tragically was unable to save him. She was badly burned herself and had to be dragged from the building by other residents, only to later perish as a result of her injuries. I'm glad to say I was able to help a couple people out of the building, but I was only one man in a whole team of men trying to save whoever we could. Unfortunately, like I said, we couldn't get enough water pressure from the main lines, so our hoses didn't do much good. It was one of the toughest days of my life. I ended up catching some smoke in my lungs, which has affected me ever since. The doc says it may cause a cerebral hemorrhage one day, but I don't like to think about that. Some folks might ask me whether it was worth it, but I just tell them I can't answer that question myself. The folks I helped that day might have a whole different way of thinking about it. I am glad to say that I was able to ensure that my wife will receive $10 every 2 months in relief after my death, and that my grave will be taken care of in the cemetery. We can only do what we can do. The rest is in God's hands. You know, later on, our town mayor gave a speech saying that we need to build more roads and do upgrades around here to ensure that everyone is served equally, and I agree. You see, the houses and farms outside of town limits don't have much help in the case of a fire unless water mains and roads are maintained properly. We also need better safety gear and fireproof suits so that the folks who put themselves on the fire lines are protected as much as possible. Well, I better get off of my stump and let you folks be on your way. I've got to get back to my carpentry work. I'm working on a brand new bookcase for a local resident.
See when the moon refused to shine, couple sitting underneath a willow tree for love they pine. Little maid was kind of afraid of darkness, so she said, I guess I'll go. Boy began to sigh, looked up at the sky, told the moon his little tale of woe. Oh, shine on, harvest moon up in the sky. I ain't had no lovin' since April, January, June, or July. Snow a dozen spoon. So shine on harvest moon for me and my gal. I can't see why a boy should sigh when by his side is the girl he loves so true. All he has to say is, won't you be my bride, for I love you. Why should I be telling you this secret when I know that you can guess? Harvest moon will smile, shine on all the while, if the little girl should answer yes. Oh, shine on harvest moon up in the sky. I ain't had no lovin' since April, January, June, or July. Snow time, ain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. So shine on harvest moon for me